Hello, I'm Ann Friedberg, and I'd like to talk about two things. You could think of them as sequential pieces of parallel processing: the book and the page, the window and the screen. And the logic might converge at the end or might not. The first thing, the book. The book is a material object, a fixed thing in the world, a commodity in the market. With a trackable and ever-fluctuating Amazon sales rank, it has entered the food chain of ideas. The second thing is the translation, extension, conversion of the book to its post-book interactive digital form. But first, the virtual window, the book. The virtual window is a book about windows and screens and frames and metaphors that shape our everyday access to the world around us. It is about architectural space and virtual space and our movements through both. The materiality and immateriality of these spaces, our mobility and immobility as users of the screen interface. The book is about visual metaphors, those that are used for painting, those that are used for the screen. In his 1435 treatise on painting and perspective, De Pictura, Leon-Battista Alberti, painter, architect, scholar of antiquity, and quintessential Renaissance man, famously instructed the painter to regard the rectangular frame of the painting as an open window, an aperta finestra. Alberti's Renaissance metaphor of the window has haunted centuries of subsequent thinking about the humanist subject of perspective, and has remained a defining concept for theories of painting, architecture, and moving image media. Renaissance perspective negotiated a new relation between the near and the far, organized along the single line of vision. By analogy, this book negotiates the now and the then, the near and the far of technology refracted through the foreshortened focal length of the present. Unlike the metaphor of the window as a frame for perspectival view, the metaphor of the window in computer software relies on a different set of assumptions about the viewer and the view that the window provides. An early component of the graphical user interface, the computer window did not refer to the full expanse of the computer screen, but rather to the subset of its screen surface, an inset screen within the screen of the computer, one of many nested on its desktop. The computer window shifts its metaphoric hold from the singular frame of perspective to the multiplicity of windows within windows, frames within frames, screens within screens. Because the computer screen is both a page and a window, it commands a new posture for the practice of writing and reading, one that requires looking into the pages as if the frame of a window. Over the years that I was writing the book, I knew that I would need to translate it to an environment that would allow me to link its concepts with its form. The Virtual Window Interactive is the book's digital other. It forms a tangent to the matrix of concepts in the book while supplying vivid examples of the still and moving images that have, in the span of centuries, filled the apertures of our windows, frames, and screens. And here we are at the splash page of the Virtual Window Interactive, where it says the computer screen is a page and a window, at once two-dimensional and a portal to the deep space beyond. So as we click here in the middle of the windowed screen, we're going to enter the deep space beyond. I'm going to begin here with a generic aperture, that size, and I'm going to pull up the toolbar below, which has a timeline. And as the centuries sort of drive ahead, we see apertures that include a painterly frame, a French window, the Academy Ratio cinema screen, a horizontal window, television, cinema widescreen, cinema cinemascope, personal computer, digital television, a mobile phone, and a video iPod. Now, of course, a year and a half ago, when we finished the Virtual Window Interactive, there was no iPhone, and the most video-capable handheld device was the iPod. At each point that we pull an aperture, we can read about different aspects of that aperture. Since we've locked into CinemaScope, we can read about cinematic projection, the cinematic screen, the frame in the screen, and some of these matrix-like concepts of mobility and immobility, how facing a screen, the spectator viewer is caught in this tangle involving mobility and immobility and materiality and immateriality. And we can also put in content to the CinemaScope screen. The content, as you've seen, ranges as the timeline slider moves across. We'll look at a piece of CinemaScope for a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion picture you are about to see is a story of music. I play the role of Tom Miller, an agent, a small-time theatrical agent who had been well, you'll see. This motion picture was photographed in the grandeur of CinemaScope, and pardon me.
So there's some flexibility in playing with these devices where we can look at pieces of content on various devices and realize what works on a device. And perhaps the most appropriate piece of content is one that was maybe even designed for the handheld device, which looks interesting and appropriate in the handheld device, but if we switch to a gallery frame, it's a very different function.